Okay, let's dive right in. The world of AI is moving at an absolutely dizzying pace, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's almost hard to keep track.
It feels like every week there's a new model, a new killer app, or, a new list of 10 secret prompt tricks
Hmm.
that promise to change everything.
Yeah.
It can be exciting, maybe a little overwhelming, and honestly, sometimes just plain frustrating trying to figure out how to actually use this stuff effectively and efficiently and safely.
It really does feel like trying to build a house on shifting sand if you're just chasing the latest fleeting tip or trick. There's a real need for something more, well,
That's
fundamental.
exactly something that provides a solid foundation, right? A way to think about and work with AI that cuts through all that noise and helps you navigate the landscape with maybe a bit more confidence.
Uh-huh.
And that's precisely what we're exploring today. We're taking a deep dive into the AI Fluency framework developed by Anthropic,
Yeah.
drawing from their materials and descriptions of their foundational course.
Yeah, and our mission here is really to pull out the most important insights from these sources. We want to figure out what this framework tells us about what AI fluency really is, why it's becoming so essential, and, what its core parts are.
Right.
The goal is to give you the understanding you need to feel more capable and, well, effective when you're engaging with AI.
And the sources, they make it clear right up front. AI fluency isn't just another technical skill. It's framed fundamentally as a human ability, the ability to interact and collaborate with AI systems in ways that are, like you said, effective, efficient, ethical, and safe.
It's about unlocking that potential for collaboration.
Yeah.
So let's unpack that definition a bit. The sources define AI fluency as like the capacity to engage with AI systems in ways that maximize your outcomes without wasting time or energy. That's the effective and efficient part.
Yeah.
And doing so responsibly, protecting data, ensuring responsible use, that's the ethical and safe side.
So it goes way beyond just knowing the right string of words to get a cool picture or something from a model.
Oh, absolutely. The sources are very clear on this. Just having access to these incredibly powerful AI systems, it doesn't automatically mean we know how to use them well, or responsibly for that matter.
Right.
Think about the common frustrations, right? You get an unexpected output and you have no idea why or how to fix it.
Well, you struggle to explain exactly what you need from the AI.
Exactly. Or you worry about sharing sensitive info. It happens all the time.
Those are definitely points where just having access hits a wall, doesn't it? The wall of actual capability.
Precisely. And the core idea behind this framework, as the sources present it, is to move beyond those temporary tactics. AI fluency is about developing these fundamental practical skills, knowledge, insights, and importantly, underlying values that stay relevant even as the tech changes, which
Right.
it will.
Constantly changing.
Yeah. So it represents a fundamental shift in mindset, learning how to think with AI rather than just thinking about it as some kind of tool.
I love that phrasing, thinking with AI. And the sources, they identify that there isn't just one way we do that, right? There are different modes of interaction people tend to use. What are those?
Yeah, based on their research, the sources highlight three main ways people engage, which also kind of shows why just knowing prompts isn't enough.
Okay.
The first one is automation. This is probably the most familiar one for most people. You basically tell the AI to complete a specific task for you. You have a clear outcome in mind.
Like asking it to summarize something or draft an email.
Exactly. Summarize a report, draft a standard email, generate an image from a description, maybe plan a basic trip itinerary. You define the what, and the AI does it.
Got it.
It's really efficient when you know exactly what you want the end product to be, but maybe less effective when you're still exploring ideas.
So you have the destination clearly mapped out, and the AI is just the car getting you there directly.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
Yeah.
Then the second mode is augmentation.
Augmentation. Okay.
Here, you're collaborating with the AI more like a thinking partner or a creative assistant. The AI isn't just doing a task for you, it's helping you do your work better.
So more like brainstorming together or working
Mm.
through a problem.
Exactly, like using AI to brainstorm ideas for a new project or collaboratively developing a really complex character profile for a story, maybe exploring different angles on a tough research problem or working through a tricky design challenge. It's much more iterative.
Right. A back and forth.
Yeah, it's best suited for situations where the solution isn't obvious and you need to explore, refine, iterate. The AI augments your own creative process and problem solving.
Makes sense. And the third one.
The third mode is agency. In this mode, the AI operates more autonomously on your behalf. It's based on parameters and patterns you define rather than specific step-by-step instructions for each action.
Okay, so like setting up AI to maybe manage incoming emails or categorize information automatically, or powering characters in a game.
Yes, precisely that kind of thing. You're establishing the AI's operating principles, its knowledge base, its behavioral style. The sources describe this shift as, well, moving from being a scriptwriter, giving line-by-line dialogue, to being more like a director.
A director. How so?
You set the overall vision, the context, the constraints, and then you let the AI kind of inhabit the role and act within those guidelines.
That's a pretty significant conceptual leap from just using AI like a calculator or a simple tool.
It really is. And the sources emphasize, none of these modes are inherently better than the others. They just serve different purposes, and you'll likely move between them, maybe even within the same project.
Fluidly.
Yeah. But a key insight they point out is that while lots of people start with automation, really leveraging augmentation and agency often lets you tap more deeply into the AI's unique capabilities.
Yeah.
You can get more innovative, more powerful outcomes that way.
So it's shifting from AI just as a tool, maybe towards seeing it as a partner or a medium or even a co-creator.
That's the potential shift they're highlighting, yes.
Okay, so understanding these different ways we can work with AI is part of Fluency. The framework itself then identifies the core abilities needed across all these modes. These are the 4 Ds, I believe.
That's right. The sources present these 4 fundamental competencies as crucial for effective engagement, no matter which mode you're in. Automation, augmentation, or agency. They are delegation, description, discernment, and diligence.
Delegation, description, discernment, diligence. Got it.
And the framework suggests these are the adaptive skills that will help you grow with AI, unlike, say, specific prompt techniques that might be tied to one interface or model version and become outdated quickly.
These sound like they could almost apply to working with people too, not just AI.
There's definitely overlap with general collaboration skills, which is, I think, really fascinating. These are framed as the pillars to make you a highly effective AI collaborator, regardless of the specific tech.
Right.
And speaking of the tech, to build this fluency, the sources also really stress the importance of having maybe not a super deep technical understanding, but an intuitive feel for the technology powering these systems, particularly generative AI.
Okay, so let's quickly ground ourselves there. What's the key thing we need to understand about generative AI from the source's point of view for Fluency?
The fundamental point they make is that generative AI systems are designed to create new content. That's what really distinguishes them from older types of AI that might just analyze or classify or act on data that already exists.
So like the difference between AI flagging a spam email versus AI actually drafting a brand new email from scratch.
Exactly that. One identifies patterns in existing stuff, the other synthesizes and creates something novel. And the sources focus heavily on large language models, LLMs as a prime example.
Why LLMs?
They're language models because their core function is understanding and generating human-like text. And large points to the sheer scale, we're talking billions of parameters, trained on absolutely vast amounts of text and data.
And the sources touch on what made this big leap possible. What enabled LLMs?
Yes, they highlight a sort of convergence of factors. There were crucial algorithmic breakthroughs. They specifically mentioned the transformer architecture around 2017 as being foundational for how models handle context in text.
Okay, the transformer.
Then just the explosion of digital data available online to train these models on. And finally, massive increases in computational power using specialized hardware like GPUs and TPUs, which made training models on that enormous scale actually feasible.
So better methods, way more data, and much more computing horsepower.
Precisely. And the sources note that this combination led to a really crucial discovery, something called scaling laws.
Scaling laws.
Yeah. Researchers found that as these models got bigger, trained on more data with more compute, their performance didn't just get incrementally better. Sometimes entirely new capabilities would just sort of emerge. Things that the models weren't explicitly programmed or trained to do.
That's one of those surprising things, isn't it? Capabilities just popping up because the model got bigger.
It is, yeah. It was a major finding. Things like suddenly being able to reason through multi-step problems or adapting pretty effectively to completely new tasks just from seeing a few examples in the prompt that's called in-context learning.
Wow. Okay. So how do they work at a high level when you interact with one?
Well, during the initial pre-training, they basically learn statistical patterns across these massive data sets. They're essentially building a complex map of language and information, mostly by predicting the next word in a sequence over and over again.
Okay.
Then there's usually a fine-tuning stage, which helps teach them to follow instructions better and align with human goals, be helpful, harmless, honest, that sort of thing, often involving human feedback.
And when you give it a prompt, what's happening then?
You're essentially giving it the beginning of a sequence, a starting point, and the model generates a continuation based on all those patterns it learned during training. It's constructing new text, probabilistically, word by word, based on what's likely to come next. It's not just looking up an answer in a database.
Got it. It's generating, not retrieving.
Exactly. And a practical limit the sources highlight here is the context window.
The context window, what's that?
It's basically the amount of information, your prompt, its previous responses, the conversation history that the AI can actively consider at any one time. It's like it's working memory for that specific interaction.
Ah, okay.
This limits how effectively it can process really long documents or maintain coherence over super long conversations without specific techniques. Though companies are working hard to expand these windows.
Okay, so key tech takeaway. Generative AI creates new stuff. LLMs are built on scale, new architectures like the transformer. They generate probabilistically based on patterns, and they have this limited working memory, the context window.
That sums up the core technical grounding from the sources that's really relevant for developing fluency. Now, understanding the tech isn't just about the cool capabilities, it's also crucially about acknowledging the limitations.
Right.
The sources are really clear that knowing what AI can't do or struggles with is just as vital for fluency as knowing what it can do.
Like understanding a colleague's strengths and weaknesses to collaborate effectively. You need both sides.
Exactly that analogy. On the capability side, as we touched on, their versatility with language is frankly remarkable. Drafting, summarizing, translating, explaining complex topics across incredibly diverse fields.
Yeah?
They can switch between vastly different tasks, often in the same conversation, and maintain the context reasonably well. And increasingly, they can connect to external tools like doing a web search or accessing specific files you give them or using other apps.
That's a pretty impressive range. So what are the crucial limitations the sources really want us to be aware of?
Okay, several key ones to keep in mind. First, they are inherently bounded by their training data. They generally have a knowledge cutoff date.
Meaning?
Meaning they don't inherently know about events or developments that happened after their last major training update unless they have live access to something like the web.
Some returning from a long trip off the grid. They miss stuff.
That's a useful analogy, yeah. Second, related to that, they can reproduce inaccuracies that were present in their vast training data. That data isn't perfectly curated or fact-checked.
Right. Garbage in, potentially garbage out.
Or just slightly off information in, slightly off information out, which ties directly into maybe the most talked about limitation, hallucinations.
Ah, yes, hallucinations.
The sources describe this as the AI confidently stating plausible-sounding information that is actually factually incorrect or nonsensical.
Like that confident friend who is completely, utterly wrong, but sounds so convincing.
Precisely that feeling. It's not like malicious intent. It's just a byproduct of generating statistically likely sequences of words that don't happen to map onto reality correctly.
Okay, that's a big one to watch out for. What else?
Then there's a context window limit. We already discussed that boundary on how much information it can juggle at once. Also, they're somewhat unpredictable or non-deterministic. Meaning, if you ask the exact same prompt multiple times, you might get slightly different answers each time. This is due to the probabilistic nature of the generation process. It can actually be great for brainstorming, getting different options.
But maybe not so great if you need perfect consistency or a single verifiable fact.
Exactly. You need to be aware of it. Also, while models are improving incredibly fast, the sources note historical limits with complex, multi-step reasoning or precise mathematical or logical tasks. Newer models like GPT-4 and others show significant progress here, but it's still an area to be mindful of.
Right.
And finally, a practical one. They lack access to specific private data or tools unless they're explicitly given that access or integrated. An AI can't help you analyze your company's internal sales data if it hasn't been securely connected to that system.
It seems like even though the technology is a moving target, understanding these core capabilities and these sort of inherent limitations is absolutely fundamental for knowing when and how to even decide to use AI in the first place.
That's the key insight, yeah. The sources really emphasize that the most effective use cases, the places where AI truly shines, often come from understanding and leveraging the complementary strengths.
Complementary
Yeah,
strengths.
combining human critical thinking, judgment, creativity, ethical reasoning with the AI speed, its ability to process information at scale, and its pattern recognition capabilities. It's about the partnership.
Okay, that's a great context. Let's maybe zero in on a couple of those core competencies, the 4Ds, to get a feel for how this framework translates into actual practice. How about we start with delegation?
Sure. Delegation, according to the sources, is really all about maximizing effectiveness and efficiency. It's about thoughtfully deciding what work needs doing and then strategically assigning who, meaning you or the AI, does which part of that work. And this applies across all those modes: automation, augmentation, and agency.
And the surprising thing the sources highlight here is that the cornerstone of good delegation, it isn't really about the AI at all, is it?
That's right. It seems counterintuitive, but it starts with your own expertise and your understanding of the task or problem at hand. The sources introduce this concept of problem awareness as the absolute foundation.
Problem awareness.
Yeah. Before you even think about bringing AI into the loop, you need a crystal clear understanding of your goals, what the desired outcome looks like, and what kind of thinking and work is actually required to get there. The sources stress that effective AI collaborators are domain experts first.
So if you don't really understand the problem yourself, you can't effectively delegate parts of it or even judge if the AI's contribution is any good.
Exactly, you need that grounding. Then building on that is platform awareness.
Okay, what's that?
This means having a practical working understanding of the AI landscape. Which models are out there? What are their general strengths and weaknesses? What are their specific capabilities and limitations, like we just discussed?
So knowing which tool is right for the job.
Pretty much. And the sources suggest that hands-on experimentation is really invaluable here. You need to play with these systems to develop your own intuition about what different AI systems are actually good at.
Like trying out different models to see which one is better for, say, creative writing versus data analysis or maybe generating code.
Precisely. Getting a feel for their personalities almost. So once you have both that deep problem awareness and a decent level of platform awareness, then you get to task delegation.
And this is the strategic part.
This is the strategic art of dividing up the labor. Which specific subtasks are really well suited for automation? Where would an augmentation partnership, that back and forth, be most beneficial? Which critical steps absolutely require human judgment and shouldn't be delegated? Could an AI agent maybe handle some routine monitoring or categorization?
So it's really not about just mindlessly offloading work onto the AI. It's about
Yeah.
making these very deliberate choices based on understanding both the task inside and out and what the available AI can realistically and safely do.
That's the core insight into delegation from the sources, yes. It's thoughtful, strategic assignment, not just, abdication of responsibility.
Makes sense. Okay, let's look at the second D you mentioned, description.
Right. Description.
Now, this sounds like it's related to prompting, which everyone talks about. But the sources seem to suggest it's much bigger than just writing a prompt.
Much, much more, yeah. Description is framed as the fundamental act of communication that really guides the entire AI interaction. It's not just about writing that initial prompt. It's about building a shared understanding. It's about steering the AI's process when needed and really creating the right kind of environment for you and the AI to collaborate effectively.
Like, instead of just saying, build a house, you're providing a detailed blueprint, maybe even specs for the materials.
That's a perfect analogy. The sources really emphasize that AI can't read your mind. Obvious, maybe, but crucial. The quality of what you get back is often directly proportional to the clarity, the detail, and the thoughtfulness of your description. And they break description down into three key aspects. First is product description.
Product description.
This is clearly defining what you want the AI to ultimately produce or provide. What is the actual output? What's the necessary context it needs? What format should it be in? Who is the audience for this? What style or tone are you aiming for? All those parameters.
Okay, so defining the desired output really clearly, all the specs.
Exactly. The second aspect is process description.
Process, so not just the what, but the how.
Precisely. This is about guiding how the AI should approach the request. You can give it context-specific instructions. Tell it about the workflow you envision, maybe data sources it should prioritize or ignore, specific issues or constraints to consider, the order it should do things in, or even the style of analysis you want it to perform. It's like providing a mini manual or a recipe or maybe a methodological guide for the AI to follow, tailored to your specific situation, not just relying on its general training.
So you're telling it not just what you want the answer to be, but how you want it to think about getting there.
Exactly. You're giving it a thinking framework specifically for your task. It's quite powerful. And the third aspect is performance description.
Performance description, what does that mean?
This is about defining the AI's behavior, its personality, or its role in the interaction. What kind of thinking partner do you need right now?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Do you need it to be like a devil's advocate, actively challenging your assumptions? Or more like a supportive brainstorming partner, generating lots of wild ideas without judgment? Should it focus on narrowing down options to find the single best answer? Or should it be exploring a really wide range of possibilities?
Oh, wow.
Should it be verbose and explain its reasoning every step of the way? Or just give you the concise answer? You can guide this.
That level of guidance it's fascinating. You're essentially shaping the very nature of the interaction, the personality of your AI partner for that task.
You really are. And the sources highlight that developing these strong description skills covering product, process, and performance is what elevates your interactions. You move from getting kind of generic, okay-ish responses to cultivating a finely tuned thinking partner that's capable of tackling complex, unique tasks right alongside you.
So putting this all together, understanding this framework, the different modes of interaction, the basic tech realities, these core competencies like delegation and description, how does that specifically help you, the listener, navigate this AI world?
Well, the fundamental takeaway from the sources is that this framework gives you the bedrock, the foundation you need to navigate this incredibly dynamic, sometimes confusing AI landscape. It helps you move beyond just chasing those fleeting tips and tricks
Right.
to actually building adaptive foundational skills that last by understanding the capabilities, yes, but also the limitations, and crucially, how to effectively direct and collaborate with AI through competencies like delegation and description. Well, you gain the strategic insight you need
Insight to do what specifically?
to make informed decisions about when it even makes sense to use AI and how to use it effectively for a given task. It empowers you to collaborate more effectively, maybe unlock new kinds of potential you hadn't considered, and ultimately just feel much more confident and capable in integrating AI into your work and your life.
Yeah.
It's really about bridging that gap between simply having access to these powerful tools and truly being fluent in using them.
It really shifts the focus back to the human side of the equation, doesn't it? Equipping us humans to work with the technology effectively, ethically, safely.
That's the absolute core message of the AI fluency framework as presented in these sources, yes.
Okay, so to wrap up this deep dive into Anthropic's AI fluency framework, the sources make a really compelling case, I think, that becoming truly fluent with AI, engaging with it effectively, efficiently, ethically, and safely, it's less about mastering specific, maybe temporary tools or prompts, and much more about developing these foundational human competencies like delegation, description, discernment, and diligence, all built on a practical, intuitive understanding of the underlying technology, its strengths, and its weaknesses.
And the sources leave us with a really important perspective, too. This whole AI landscape is definitely not static. It's constantly evolving, and so is our understanding of how to best work within it.
Which leads us nicely to the final thought for you, the listener, to consider. If developing AI fluency isn't some final destination you arrive at, but more like an ongoing process of learning, experimenting, and adapting, what's one small area related to AI, maybe understanding a specific limitation a bit better, or deliberately practicing a different mode of interaction like augmentation, or trying a new approach to description? What's one small thing you could explore or experiment with this week to consciously deepen your own AI fluency?